let's dive into 2007's Welcome to the Night Sky. So off of this album is Weighty Ghost, which is a legit top 10 hit across Canada. What was it like we talked about hearing your song on the radio for the first time with Orca. My question now is, what is it like to have a song that's like a legit hit that you're hearing on the radio frequently? I remember Much Music played the music video very frequently. What is that experience like? That's like the next level of radio.
Yeah, that Weighty Ghost was kind of omnipresent everywhere. It was kind of unescapable, which was amazing. That song resonated. I think it was, it's still a different sounding song, but I think at that time it was like the choices that we made on the production on that. Because we before we really did the album version of it, it was like more rocky. It was not quite the right, the choices that were appropriate for the song. Nailed it on the record with the organ and this kind of odd treatment, because I think it's kind of like, I feel like a lot of bands after that, not that they like ripped us off or anything like that, but that was kind of like the predecessor to, like, I don't really know what Mumford & Sons sound like, but that's what I kind of imagine, and like Luminaires and stuff like that. It was kind of singular at that time. There was not like a lot of stuff on alternative radio.
I think like Train's Hey Soul Sister, that's also like, it starts with kind of
that has like a mandolin or something
and it's top, one of those that it's building with the drums, and eventually the full band comes in. I think that comes later after this song.
It was I remember Paul leaving that song on my voicemail or something like that one time, and I think wondering if it would fit with what we did, and I was like, it was like super stoked to work on it, and it's kind of a classic song. It's like I still hear it all the time, and it's amazing that to see a song have that much life to it. It actually has a life of its own. That was fantastic. Still great.
So listening to the 4 albums after Welcome to the Night Sky, you can hear that Weighty Ghost fits in with those songs. But previous to Weighty Ghost coming out as a single, if you look at the first 2 albums, there's nothing really like Weighty Ghost. So was there a fear of releasing a song that was so different sonically to what had already been released on record for Wintersleep?
I think we knew it was accessible. I don't think we really, I guess at that time, I think there was like over time, like kind of music has become less precious in a way, like, or I don't know, you see people doing, it's so common for bands to be in a car commercial or something like that, and it's like applauded now. But back then that was kind of teetering on the time where being successful wasn't cool, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, so we kind of knew that it was a very accessible song, but it's like, that's the reason to not play a song that you love, so it was interesting. Because like in Halifax there was a bit of backlash, because we all still lived in Halifax at the time. And when, people don't like it when things get popular a lot of the time. So there was a bit of a backlash, just like kind of like in the music community, I guess, a little bit, but for the most part, it takes those kind of moments to know who your real friends are and stuff like that. And, who, because obviously that's just like a great song. So
but that's also how you've made it, is when you start getting the backlash and the haters for being popular. So I remember when I did an interview with Rich Bedeau of Finger 11 and Saint Asonia, he said that when they had the massive global hit Paralyzer, which is like way into their career, that that Chad Kroeger from Nickelback reached out to Finger 11 and said, congratulations, you've just hit like the pinnacle of hit singles. Now you're going to start to get haters, and that's how you know you've made it. And you know, Nickelback is the most hated band in the world. Like,
Yeah,
everyone actually loves Nickelback, but there's just like the inside joke that they're so popular that you can't like them. But anyways, of all the people in the world, Chad Kroeger knows about what it's like to have hit the peak and get a bunch of haters. So that's like you guys with Weighty Ghost. That song was so popular and so catchy. You start to get some haters. That's how you knew you made it. I've heard every new level has a new devil, and that's kind of like you guys when you hit it with Weighty Ghost, you knew you made it with the haters.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. I mean, that definitely, yeah, we entered into a different kind of stratosphere than just kind of, you know, more bigger shows and more attention, you know, just people were, yeah, just like more in the mainstream. Because I think, yeah, that song was like, the video of that went to #1 on the Much More Music countdown or something like that. And yeah, it was all just really cool to see. It's so awesome when people are like your songs.
So Weighty Ghost is still Wintersleep's most played song on Spotify, is 10 million spins. Why do you think people love that song so much?
I think it's really relatable. I think it's like vague enough, like has an ambiguousness that you can, like, even though I say it's relatable, but I think you can take a lot away from that. And the melody is just like super hooky. Yeah, I mean, it's accessible. Like, you know, you don't have to struggle to like think of the melodies from that song. You know, it's just like it's there. I think of like when you hear Paul McCartney talk about, you know, when they knew they had a good song because it was easy to remember. It was like they couldn't take voice memos back in those days, even though I got that voicemail of Paul left it on my machine or whatever. But I, you know, immediately the first time I heard it, it was like just so easy to access. Like, I think that's a good sign of a good song.
So the success of Weighty Ghost took you guys all the way to performing that song on David Letterman. What was that experience like? Is it super exciting, or is it really nerve-wracking because you're on TV, one of the biggest shows, you know, period?
I mean, yeah, it was just really exciting because when you get an opportunity to do that, it's like, okay, let's do this really well. We're really performing at the time. I think we on the show, but you know, obviously it's kind of like Nova Scotia, small town Nova Scotia guys. It's like it's another one of these things that we were kind of all experiencing at the same time together. But yeah, I mean, just having each other to kind of go through it together. That might be cheesy, but I mean, it's you know, going through all these things at the first time was comforting, and being with such great friends. You know, you can made it, you know, a lot easier than I'm sure like somebody like a pop star being thrusted into some sort of team would have it. So yeah, I don't know, it's pretty awesome to do that with a bunch of friends, you know. And it was kind of like that was our New Inheritors record had come out at that time, and it was kind of like, you know, at the time we just thought it would be best to, you know, play what we kind of thought was our best song to date, you know, on the show, as opposed to something from
to get that out to a US or global audience, I guess.
Yeah, because we were introducing ourselves to an entirely new audience. So many people that didn't hear us, and oddly enough, like off that show, like Robbie Robertson saw us play it on that show and invited us to play at his induction to the Songwriting Hall of Fame off that. You know,
I think that alone made it worth it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But the butterfly, when you have that exposure, and it's always good to try to, like, you know, think of the format, you know, that's like, you know, it's like David Letterman, like you can't get any more, like, you know, it's late night, but it's still like main of the mainstream. So to work within the parameters of that format to begin with, right?